Eugenics is the philosophy of human societal betterment based off controlled reproduction of those considered unfit to reproduce. This idea was conceived by Sir Francis Galton, a Victorian-age scientist in England. Cousin of Darwin, Galton believed that there was something man could do to speed up the process of evolution. He said, what nature does blindly, slowly, and ruthlessly, man may do providently, quickly, and kindly. As it lies within his power, so it becomes his duty to work in that direction. Galton brought his idea to the United States in 1904 when social Darwinism was prevalent in the post-Civil War society. Because they had more money and desirable traits, wealthy Americans liked the idea of being more likely to continue their family, while those families without the same privileges would be discontinued. In order to ensure the functionality of eugenics and social Darwinism, sterilization practices gained popularity.
The whole concept was that it doesn't make a difference what the impact is on individuals, so long as it benefits the greater society and the greater good. It's basically ignoring the individual rights because we think it's more important that we benefit the whole.
Galton teamed up with organizations and scientists to promote pro-sterilization practices in America. Their main accomplishment was the founding of the Human Betterment Foundation, which conducted and funded eugenics research. The foundation supported smaller sterilization boards, one per state, the most famous being in North Carolina. The North Carolina board consisted of 5 people sitting in a conference room, voting to sterilize strangers. The total number of boards existing in the nation was 33, one being in Washington state. These practices were popular with the government and in the media, but there were backlashes every so often. The most famous was the case of Buck v. Bell, which occurred when a woman in Virginia felt that her sterilization violated the 14th Amendment. Her case was overruled by the Supreme Court in 1927. Reasons for sterilization were diverse. They included mental disease, feeble-mindedness, hereditary deafness and blindness, epilepsy, alcoholism, promiscuity, being Asian, African American, Jewish or Latino, having manic depression, schizophrenia, shortness of fingers and toes, hemophilia, and color blindness.
Other states kind of slowed down their sterilization programs. North Carolina was one of the few states kind of ramped it up, so that made it even worse.
Eugenics-motivated sterilization remained in a positive light until the end of World War II, when the exploits of Hitler were illuminated in the Nuremberg trials. Hitler was inspired by the propaganda put forth by the Human Betterment Foundation, including a race-based eugenics book called The Passing of the Great Race, which he referred to as his Bible. Hitler sterilized a total of 410,000 people over a course of 6 years. He justified his actions by giving the same reason for sterilization as Americans had, including feeble-mindedness, epilepsy, and other mental and social disabilities he felt should be eradicated. Americans were disgruntled by this piece of information, and sterilization boards began to disband. In North Carolina, on the other hand, they ramped up their practices to an all-time high.
In time, it turned into a racist program. The eugenics program turned into a racist program where it targeted African Americans.
Practices in North Carolina became increasingly questionable. Racial minorities became targeted with the belief that African Americans produced the most illegitimate children. People in places of power, such as social workers and doctors, let their own discriminations affect their work, and convinced those of racial minorities to accept sterilization either through force or promises of food and clothing. This would also work in the other direction, when threats of recalling food stamps and welfare were made. One doctor sterilized an African American woman directly after she had given birth and was too weak to protest, proclaiming that there were too many colored babies already. He later filed her procedure as exploratory. This sterilization and many others were performed by private doctors acting on their own. Medical privacy laws make it hard to tell how many were victimized this way.
That should we give a few people so much power over other people's lives, because giving people that much power allows them to act on their prejudices, whether they dislike a certain type of people because of their color, their lifestyle, their religious beliefs. It just giving people power allows them to act on their prejudices, and we can see that when one studies the Eugenics Board.
The state government was in support of these practices as well. In 1959, State Senator Jolly spoke directly to a group of African Americans, proclaiming 1 out of 4 of your race is illegitimate. In the year following, strides were made against racism in North Carolina. Sit-ins at North Carolina A&T State University, and a moderate who beat out a segregationist for governor. Still, in 1960 to 62, the Eugenics Board ordered 476 sterilizations, 284 of which were for blacks.
The most famous case of North Carolinian sterilization is Elaine Riddick, who got sterilized at age 14. While heading home from school, Riddick was captured and raped by her neighbor, who warned her that he would kill her if she told anyone what had happened. He had impregnated her, and 9 months later she had her son, Tony Riddick. She has said in interviews, "I got to the hospital and they put me in a room and that's all I remember. That's all I remember. When I woke up with bandages on my stomach." She had been given anesthesia and put to sleep. After giving birth, she had been operated on and given a sterilizing tubal ligation. In order to get the permission for the procedure, Riddick's illiterate grandmother, Peaches, was given a form and told that if she didn't sign it, she wouldn't receive food stamps anymore. Peaches signed the line with an X. Riddick didn't find out that she was sterilized until she failed to have a child with her current husband.
I'm crushed. They cut me open like I was a hog.
It was sort of a hush-hush type of thing. And the records and files were all hidden away down in the basement, locked under a key.
The public was not aware of the extremities of sterilization in North Carolina until Riddick brought her story to attention at a hearing by the North Carolina state government. Riddick and many others told their stories, which outraged the nation. In response, the Eugenics Compensation Task Force was appointed in North Carolina under Governor Perdue. Recently, the task force settled on a victim compensation of $50,000 voted for unanimously. Currently, the state is waiting for the bill to pass through the legislature. Interviews with representatives reveal that its passing is highly likely. It is a bill that separates North Carolina from the rest of the world. This is a proud day, says Representative Larry Womble, a Democrat. Elaine Riddick doesn't feel that money can cover her loss. It's a political game and it's an insult, says her son, Tony. Although no price can be put on a baby that's never been born, one can be put on her stacked up bills from her therapist, who has helped her get through her trauma. The money would go towards paying those bills and other expenses she and other victims may have accumulated due to their sterilization. Expenses such as those acquired through full hysterectomies that many women, including Riddick, have gotten due to extreme pain that resulted from careless and hurried procedures. Although money can't make the past disappear, it can present a sentiment of goodwill and hope for the future.